We're we're in a new series, and I'm really excited. I'm excited by a new series. That's good, isn't it? Because new things are great in this world. Who needs old things, right? That was not the point at all. But praying through it, what we want to do. What's the heart behind the series? I didn't hear what that was, so we'll just move on. What the heart of this series is. I don't know what 2025 looked for you. I don't know whether you've had a chance to sit and reflect on it. I have, in my role, get the privilege of doing that as a church leader, and what's 2025 meant for our church. And we brought a lot of that to the AGM. You might remember this picture that we looked at together, and just how encouraging that was for me and my journey. If you haven't seen this picture, in November 2024, I sat down and I wanted to recognize, I'd realized that God had done wonderful things in 2024, but I wasn't able to really tell everybody what they were because I hadn't really written them down. And so I sat down and said, I want to pray for these areas over 12 months. And then in 12 months' time, I want to be able to celebrate what God has done. And at the AGM, we did that because God has blessed us so much in so many of these areas. And whilst, yes, in many of them, we're still waiting for the next thing to come, it's right to celebrate His goodness in that. 2025 might not have been a good year for you. And I don't know what 2026 holds for you. None of us do. I've sat down and with Em as well, and we've prayed about what we think God is leading our family into. I prayed about what I believe God is leading me as an individual to, and as well as a church. Jenny and I and many of you have sat down with me as we prayed, and we'll do it again on Wednesday morning if you would like to join with us, to pray about, God, what have you got for our community? What are you saying into our community? Where are you leading us? What are you calling us to be? But the harsh reality is we don't know what is just around the corner. I don't know what's going to happen on the way home. I can't predict that. I can't know that. And every now and then we get the opportunity, probably isn't quite the right word, to experience just how fragile life is. Just how delicately poised it is. Just how close it is to everything falling apart. I was talking with a guy from CAP who's Christians Against Poverty, and he was just sharing to me how close we are to homelessness. We all would sit and go, financially, I'm in a really strong, a healthy position. Maybe you're not, I don't know. But he talked about even those who are in a strong financial position, it only takes 2 or 3 things to go wrong, and all of a sudden you're right on that bottom line trying to work out where I'm going to pull together the next little bit to get through the next week. Life is really, really, really fragile. And so what we want to do is give ourselves language to pray through the seasons of our life. Because we will have seasons of joy. We will have seasons of plenty, of provision, of wonder and awe. We'll have seasons of worship, of how good the goodness of our God and the kindness of Him. But we would be naive to say that there are not seasons ahead of us where we will lament. That there are seasons when we will doubt. And there'll be seasons where there's fear. And how do I pray then? What words do I use when I'm in that place of fear? What can I turn to in that place when I don't know what to say or what to do? What can I do? And so really what this series is, we're going to cross 5 different ways we can pray. And we're just going to look at a psalm for each one of those, for each stage of life that we might find ourselves in. That maybe you're in that place now, and this could be a blessing for you right now, that you can go home and be like, wow, I'm going to read this psalm for the rest of the week. But maybe it's for we do things now while things are well, so that when things are not well, we know what we can do. We know a step that we can take. And so to that end, we're going to start, and we're going to read Psalm 3 together. The Psalms are they're a collection of 150 poems or songs, if you will. They were written by God's people to God, but they have been kept almost by God and by the Word of God and preserved for us in our Bible. These are songs, and we'll talk about this through this series. These are songs that God has given us to sing. These are words God has given you and I to use when we're in the place where we don't know what words to use. And they cover the whole spectrum of human emotion, from joy, provision to despair, guilt, frustration. And so I'm really excited about this series in many ways. This psalm is a psalm on fear. And how do I pray when I'm scared? In Psalm 3, it looks like this. It's a little bit, oh, can you give me the whole psalm? Lauren, I know it's in there somewhere. You can't read all of that, and that's okay, because in a moment we'll read through it slowly and you will be able to read it. Psalm 3 is a psalm of David, and it's got a little subtitle of when he fled from his son Absalom. Lord, how many of my foes, how many rise up against me? Many are saying of me, God will not deliver him. But you, Lord, are a shield around me, my glory, and the one who lifts my head high. I call out to the Lord, and he answers me from his holy mountain. I lie down and sleep, and I wake again because the Lord sustains me. So I will not fear, though tens of thousands assail me on every side. Arise, Lord. Deliver me, my God. Strike all my enemies on the jaw and break the teeth of the wicked. From the Lord comes deliverance. May your blessing be on your people. The first emotion that humans feel is fear. The first emotion that you felt was fear. The moment a child is born healthy, mum and dad are relieved and there's joy in the room and the doctors can breathe and the nurses, sometimes some of these are tense birth experiences, and there's a sense when the baby starts breathing that, oh my goodness, okay, we're going to be okay. This, in an ancient context, the moment that a baby is being born is the closest that many mums and many babies would have come to death. It was a really, really dangerous situation. The mortality rates for mums and for babies in this moment was through the roof. Nothing like it was today. Which is not to say that today it's still a moment of real danger and fear. It's a real risk to have a baby, which they don't tell you about, really. They're like, have a baby, it's going to be great, because it is great. But that moment in the delivery room, not much has to go wrong for it to go really wrong. And so as the baby is born and it cries, there's a huge sense of relief for everyone who knows what's happening. But the baby burst into tears because everything they knew, everything that they had felt, the warmth of mum's womb, the smells of mum, even the sounds of mum, that feeling of being encased in that water, it is all gone in a moment. And they have been thrust out into a dark and cold and scary world where all of a sudden there's nothing that they know or recognize. And so their first emotion is fear. And it's very, very possible that the last emotion that you will feel in this life is fear. You or I do not know what is coming around the corner. We don't know when our last day will be or what it will be like. And I've granted, in my limited experience of death and sitting with people in their moments of dying, many of them have been really, really strong Christians, and it's never been a question in their mind about where they're going. They're not. No one has turned to me and said, I'm afraid to die. What the fear is at that point for many of them, though, is what is going to happen to my family? What's going to happen to my children? Will they turn and love the Lord? Will God provide for them when I'm gone? It's very possible that the last emotion that you feel is fear. And so we need to talk about, as a church, how do I respond to times when I'm afraid? What words can I use in that moment that's going to give me confidence in who God is, who's going to know that God is with me and his presence goes with me even even then, to face my fears hand in hand with my God. And so this psalm comes from a time of fear in David's life. David's kids are grown up, and they're seeing how he's ruling the nations, and they don't love it. And for very good reason, and they shouldn't love it. David is not doing a very good job at this point. And what he's done essentially is left a complete vacuum of leadership, and he's not really stepped into his family's life as well. And so there's just this big hole. And so his children have realized this, and now they're going to start trying to step into the hole. The problem is there's more than one child trying to fill that spot of leadership. And so now there's tension between brothers. It's about who's going to get this and how are they going to get this. How do they get power, which is a huge theme in Samuel. Is how do you get power, and then how do you deal with it when you're in power? The problem for this, though, is as soon as they step into that power, David is still technically the king of Israel. And so if they want to be the true king, they're going to have to deal with their father. And the way that you deal with your father is you go and kill him. And so David, for fear of his life, heads off into the wilderness. And you can read this in 2 Samuel 15 and 16. And you can read the story about what happens and David's actions in this. And there's a number of psalms that David has written while he's in this wilderness space. And one of them is this one. It's Psalm 3. And so what we're going to do in this space where a whole bunch of people are now out to try and kill David, and he's scared for his life, what we're going to do is read it slowly, so that then when hundreds of people are chasing us through the wilderness and we're scared for our life, or whatever situation comes up ahead of us. That was a joke. That's probably not going to happen, right? You're allowed to, unless you're the king of Israel. And then, hey, watch out. What words can I use? When I'm scared, when I'm afraid, what can I do? Let's go. Verse 1. Lord, how many are my foes? How many rise up against me? Many are saying of me, God will not deliver him. A bit of Hebrew will help you out here. The first word, he says, Lord, how many are my foes? You might have oppressors is another word that we translate it. It's the word sar. It's what a python does. It wraps around your arm and then starts to tighten. That's that word. See, it's the idea of being trapped by something, of like the walls, like constricting, coming in on me. Lord, how many are the things that are trying to trap me at the moment? Are trying to stop me being able to move? And the problem for David is if he can't move anymore, if he's stuck there, then the people who are trying to find him, they're going to find him pretty easily. And so there's a whole bunch of things that are coming to trap him and then to kill him. And he pairs this with this word. When it says, how many rise against me, this idea of many is not just like, oh, there's lots of them. It's almost like there was one, and then there was two, and then there was 4, and now there's 8, and soon I can see it's going to be 16, and then it's going to be 32, and it's like this thing is starting to get out of control, God. It's not just like there's a lot of them. It's escalating, and it's further. How many are the people that are rising up against me? They're just multiplying, God. Are you aware of how many people and how far out of control this is starting to get for me? And so then they turn and they say to these people that are rising against him, they say to him, they say to his nefesh. It's a Hebrew word, like we sort of think like soul, but it's like the deepest part of you, the part where you make all your decisions, the part where your beliefs are, your faith is, where it's like your innermost core bit. It's your nefesh, and into that space, these people start saying to David, "Your God is not going to deliver you." Into like the deepest bowels of who he is, they reach in and they say, "Your God is not coming for you this time." It's a crisis of faith for David. What do I do when there's all these people and everything is coming in on me and it's all escalating out of control, and all the time they're trying to make me believe that, God, you will not deliver me today? What do I do at that point? It's a physical threat, but now it's a spiritual threat. Will you trust in your God in this moment? This is how David responds. But you, Lord, you are a shield around me. You are my glory, the one who lifts my head high. And so I call out to the Lord, and he answers me from his holy mountain. What's he doing? In the middle of his fear, David names what is true. In the middle of his fear, even if I don't feel it right now, you, God, you are a shield around me. Which totally makes sense for the context of the psalm, right? There's all these warriors out to get him. Well, God, you are my shield. You are what's going to protect me. Because there's an imminent threat. You only need the shield when someone's actually coming at you with a spear. God, you will defend and protect me. It's a statement of faith, right? In the moment of them reaching in and saying, your God will not deliver you, David says, no. Lord, you are a shield around me. What's fascinating then is he pivots into calling God his glory. It's like a really weird thing to call something like, you God are my glory. What do you mean by that? I think a helpful word might be honor. When we talk about glory, the literal word is like heaviness. It's the weightiness of things. It's the importance of things, I think, is another way to look at it. We would use, we were trying to honor someone. I think that sort of makes sense. It's like it's linked in with like status and power, how important that you are. A good way to frame it maybe would be an example of it would be in the wedding. When you and I go to a wedding, if I get there late, the wedding's going to start without me. Because in the end, I'm not that important. But if you're the bride, we all wait for you. And so in that moment, you've got this honor. You've got this moment of the importance. And so the question is, what glory is David talking? What does it mean that God is my glory? Which makes sense from David's past. If we remember, we looked at David's life a little bit last year. Starts as a shepherd boy, works his way to be king, right? He is the greatest and most celebrated king of his time. And in fact, he doesn't know this, but he will be the greatest king Israel ever has. He's the one who drew all the tribes together. It's him who fought and defeated Goliath. That's him. He's got that in his little resume book. All the nations around Israel, then he goes to war with, so that Israel has lasting peace in the region. It's one of their, both David and then Solomon's reign after David, are one of the few times when they have peace on all sides because of the way David acted. This kid had it all. This shepherd boy from the outback of nowhere has made it. And is the most famous person in all the land. And the problem is, when you're the most famous person in all the land, it goes to your head, doesn't it? How often in both Christian leadership and in secular leadership do we find people who go, yes, but I'm more important than those rules. Those rules are for someone else. I'm above those. David's problem was he saw something and he wanted it. And because he's king, shouldn't he get what he wants? And the story of Bathsheba then is David taking something that didn't belong to him. And so, from that moment then, his whole life begins to fall apart. His family falls apart. His kingdom falls apart. To the point now where he's on the run from his son, terrified of what's going to happen to him. Everything that David's glory was, he found in his identity, in his status, in the things that he could have. That was his glory. That was his honor. That's how he defined himself. It's how he looked at himself. When you said, who's David to him, David thought about all the things that he could have. And our society drives us to think the same way. To believe that I am who I am because of the career that I have. I am who I am because of the car that I get to drive home in today. I am who I am because of the things that I have at home, the house that I have, the friends that I hold, the money that I've got in the bank, the savings, the holidays, like all this stuff. It tries to get you to shape your identity around the things that you have, and then tries to convince you that all you need is just one more thing. Find your glory in what you can attain, because there's no other meaning to this life. There's nothing else going for it, so you may as well live a life of comfort and joy. And David bought into it until it all fell apart. And now he finds himself hiding in the wilderness, scared for his life. And in this moment, he has nothing. He has nothing. All the glory, all the honor, all the status, all the money, all the things that he had, they are all gone. And in this moment, he realizes where he should have found his glory all along. His glory is not found in his role as king. It's not found in the palace that he sat in. It's not found in the food that he ate. His glory is found only in the love of his God who is with him. And so this moment in this prayer is this pivot for David where he turns around and steps away from everything that he was buying into before has gone. And he realizes, you, Lord, you are my glory. You are the one who lifts my head. And this prayer that he prays is one that where God would retake that place at the center. Would retake that place where I define myself by. The place where I see my identity in. That everything would come out of this experience of God's goodness towards him. And because of this, he prays, I lie down and sleep. I wake again because the Lord sustains me. And I will not fear though tens of thousands assail me on every side. What has changed for David? Circumstantially, not a rhetorical question. Here we go. Not a rhetorical question. What has changed for David at the moment? In his life, in his world, what's changed? Come on, guys, not a hard answer. What's changed? He's put his faith back in God, but circumstantially for him, in terms of what's happening in his life, what has changed? Nothing. He is still on the run with his son out trying to kill him. David is not like, this is a moment for David caught still in the wilderness. It's not like verses 1 to 4 happens and then he goes into the palace and he's like, sweet, oh my goodness, this is lovely, God. Now I can pray this bit of the prayer where I can lie down and sleep. Nothing has changed for David. The only thing that has changed for David is his attitude. The only thing that's changed for David is he has started naming what is true in the face of what feels like it's true. Yeah? David finds peace in God that he can lie down confident that God will raise him up, not from the dead, but from his sleep. That he will be safe even as he sleeps. Even though there's tens of thousands of people, even though he's still in the wilderness, even though there's still people out to get him, he trusts in God's goodness and kindness to him above all that. He has reminded himself who God is. He is the shield around me. It has been him that has been with him all his life. And so he knows in this moment that it is God's character that's going to define reality for him and not his circumstances. And how much of the time do I let my circumstances define the way that I act as opposed to God's character for me and over my life? How much of the time do I make a decision based out of a knowledge and trust in God's goodness and his provision for me, as opposed to me making sure that I've got everything right before I go and do this? What are the times when God calls me out of places of comfort to go and do something? And I go, yeah, but God, I'm scared. When do I let his character define my reality and not my circumstances? John captures this beautifully in the New Testament, and we'll sing this in a minute. Perfect love casts out fear. talked about it a couple of weeks ago. Perfect love drives out fear. And so there comes a shift in David's song. Arise, Lord. Deliver me, my God. Strike all my enemies on the jaw. Break the teeth of the wicked. Which you might be pretty comfortable with. I don't know. I haven't heard Hillsong come out with this song yet. I'm excited to sing it when they do. It's like there's a moment, right, when we have to go to David and be like, David, that's sort of not the way we talk as Christians. Like, I don't know. You haven't met Jesus yet, but you will. And he's going to talk about this turn the other cheek thing. And it's like, this can't not. How do I pray this? Like, what do I find myself like reading through the Psalms. I don't know if you've done it. If you've done, again, Bible in the year, I'm reading through Psalms. You get to these Psalms where you're like, I just want to skip these few verses because it's like not, you can't say this stuff. The problem is the Psalms are filled with it, like filled with it. And I think there's a real question for us to ask as Westerners about what we expect to do with our emotions. There's this whole drive, I think, in Western society of like just stuffing down your emotions, like just especially the ones that are inconvenient or get in the way. Let's just forget those. If we just leave them over there, then everything's fine over here. We'll just hang out over here. Oh, I got another one of these emotions. That's right. I'll put it down over there, and if I step over here, we're still good, and it's all fine. And so it's like we don't. I don't want to talk about my anger because anger's bad. At the same time, we then go and read a story of David, not far from this story. He goes out and there's a guy called Nabal, and he basically calls David an idiot. And David picks up his sword with all of his mighty men, and he's going off to go and kill Nabal. Like he's like, I'm done with this guy. And it's like, that's wrong. But what would you have David do with his anger? What are we supposed to do? When I'm angry, what am I supposed to do with it? Where else am I supposed to turn but to the Lord? Like, what am I? We need to get to a place where I can go to God and write a song or write a poem where I express, God, I don't like the way that this world is. There's stuff in this world that should make me angry. I think it does make us angry. I think we look at tragic scenarios all around Australia, and the one that's hit our family this week is this poor family caught over in Perth, and the four of them that are dead out of the river. Like, that is horrendous. And if I don't have a place where I can go to God with that and express my anger and the injustice of what have happened, particularly to those two children, like, what am I supposed to do with it? Where am I supposed to go? And so David comes and he prays through his anger. And what's brilliant about this is he prays through it but is not consumed by it. At no point does David go and do any of this stuff. In fact, in the story of Absalom, David makes it very clear that he will not lift a finger against his son. He will not go and fight him. He will not touch him because he just can't do it. It's not right for him to do it. But he still prays his prayer saying, God, whatever you are going to do in this is, I'm experiencing injustice in my life, and you go and do what is right. In the same way, we have to find a way that we're not afraid to bring my anger to God. You don't need to hide it. You don't even need to qualify it. You don't need to apologize it. You're expressing, God, there is injustice in my world. I want you to do something about it. Pray through your anger. And it leads to this wonderful statement of David's surety, that from the Lord comes deliverance. From the Lord comes deliverance. And in the last bit, it's like this individual prayer becomes like this corporate moment of like, your blessing is going to be on your people who do this. It's like all of a sudden it's not just an individual psalm that David just gets to pray. It's a prayer for all of us. Which I just love. Like, how good is this psalm? Like, this is great, right? No, fair enough. Okay. I like it. We'll do it next week again. I like it that way. I don't know what we'll talk about. I want to come to this table, and I want to come with two thoughts. Two thoughts for you as you come. And it might be that you've got both of these. It's probably more likely that you've got one of these. The first one is you know what the fear in your life is at the moment. I don't know what it is, but it's likely when we start talking about things that you're scared of, things that make you nervous, things that make you unsettled, we probably don't have to dig very far within you for you to know if you're holding on to that fear, you probably know it like already. I just want to leave space for you to pray this psalm. We'll put the whole psalm. Oh, here we go, Lauren. Yeah. You can pull in your phone if you actually want to be able to read the thing. But to pray this psalm. Before you come to the table, if you're sitting there and you're gripped by fear and you're sitting like David and you're going, actually, the walls do feel like they're coming in on me. Like I actually don't know where to turn at the moment. And I don't know what to do. And I'm just scared, Lord. Come and pray this psalm. Before you do this bit, do this bit. Start speaking what is true over you. Because in that place of fear, our mind does really funny things to us, doesn't it? And even just taking a moment to recognize God's goodness in my life, the way He's come through in the past. And you might need to do that individually. You might need to tap a friend on your shoulder and go, you know what, actually, I actually need you to speak some truth over me because I can't find it. That's what church does, right? That's what church does, right? Gosh. 2, there's a group of us who have got misplaced glory, right? There's a group of us who have found my status, my honor, my reputation, whatever, and I've found it in something that I've done or achieved. I don't know what that looks for you, whether it's a career, again, whether it's in a job, same thing, whether it's your money, whether it's your family. Maybe it's like, wow, my family all loves and follows the Lord, and so that's where, like, I've got this secret, like, oh man, I must have done a really good job as a parent or grandma, whatever. Maybe it's knowledge. Man, when I go to Connect Group, I just know all the answers. And it's like awesome. Or people come to me and they're like, man, you're so wise, which you're very welcome to do because I don't have this problem. But like, I don't know where you're finding misplaced glory, but we build ourselves up, right? And it's right to have a really healthy sense of ego and self-esteem. It's right that we be good at things. It's right that I can say to you that I have these wonderful strengths and talents that God has given me. But at the end of the day, the place where I know where I find my value is not in any way what any of you think about me. It's what my Father thinks. Everything that I'm trying to do and achieve in my life is not for your praise, but at the end of it, Jesus might look at me and say, well done. You have been my Savior and my servant, and you have been good and faithful. That has to be my driving force. And so maybe you, like I, definitely do have misplaced glory that I need to deal with. I just need to lay down again and walk away from it and say, God, you be my glory. You be the place where I find my identity. You be the thing that I'm most proud of. The thing that when you find out who I am, what I'm most proud of is that He is my Father and He loves me. And so this table is open in whatever way you need to do. Whether it's praying through some fears and needed to do that, whether it's doing some heart stuff and just letting stuff that's gotten away, just sweeping those things out of the way. When you're ready, though, come and break bread and eat with us. Not because of any of our goodness, but because of His, right? If we remember the words so often repeated, on the night that He was betrayed, He took bread and He gave thanks for it. And He gave it to His disciples and He said, take, eat all of it. This is my body that was given for you. And after the meal, He took the cup, and after giving thanks for it, He gave it to His disciples and said, drink of this, all of you. This is my blood, the new covenant, which is shed for you for the forgiveness of sins. every time you come and do this, remember me. So let's pray. God, we do remember Jesus, your mercy, your love, and your sacrifice. Teach us, oh God, to trust in your goodness, your faithfulness, your provision. Help us find truth in the midst of fear and doubting. Help us, God, put you first, the center of our life. Thank you for your Spirit. That is always with us. Holy Spirit, we wait for you now.